What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, dude. As you guys know, LG just released their LG G8, and I've always been a fan of LG phones, and I know a lot of you guys are too. Every time I talk about the LG G6 or G7 or whatever, all of you guys just fly to those videos, so it means you guys are interested. And again, this is one of those cases, not a lot of people own the G8, and I'm going to get my hands on it very soon, but I just kind of want to do a quick bird's eye view comparison between the G6 and G8, just talk about what the differences are between them. Once I do get my hands on them, I'm going to do a full-on in-depth comparison between these two, but I just kind of want to get the pot stirring between these and just kind of help you guys out. If you currently own a G6, is it worth the upgrade to a G8? If you currently own a phone that's older than both of these phones, which one should you get? Save your money or spend more money? Let's just find out, man. But in terms of the outside, I'll definitely say that between both of these phones, the G7 to a G8 is a much better and bigger upgrade than the G6 to a G7. But even between the G6 and G8, I really do think that a lot of the changes were just kind of extra features that were added. I'll talk about those in a second, but the G6 had a 5.5-inch screen. It was IPS and it's 1080p, but it really wasn't that bad of a panel. I remember when I used it when I was making those videos about it, and looking back at it, I'm like, the G6 has a very good IPS panel, and there's not a lot of phones out there that make really good IPS panels. I think OnePlus's panels were pretty decent. The G6's panel is very, very good for an IPS panel, and the G8 actually switched now to an OLED panel, and it's the first time in the whole LG G series that we've seen an OLED panel. I don't know why it took them this long to do it. LG's made OLED panels before, but they finally switched to it, and it is 1440p just like the LG G7's, and it's 6.1 inches. I don't know if I already said that, but overall I'll definitely say that the G6 isn't a horrible panel, but the G8 is actually much better. And they both have fingerprint sensors, as you guys probably know. The G8 does have a little bit less bezel on it. One quick thing to note, and again, this might be a gimmick, the G8 does have this new hand ID feature where you can actually test and see, I guess, the veins within your hand and be able to unlock your phone just from the palm of your hand. And that feature in and of itself, it seems like if it kind of progresses and kind of gets smarter and smarter as your hand waves over it, then I feel like there's a lot of success to it. But right now, it just seems like you have to hover your hand over for like a couple seconds in order for it to register. And it seems like a kind of like a not a necessary thing to do. I'd rather just unlock it through a fingerprint sensor. But looking in the future, if you could just go pick up your phone and it'd be able to scan your palm at the same time and unlock it, I feel like that's a pretty cool feature in and of itself. I don't think it's going to, replace a fingerprint sensor anytime soon, but I do think it's a step in the right direction. But you can do like hand gestures with it too, which is super cool. Hopefully LG will release their trailer. They haven't done a trailer yet. I haven't seen it. If they do, I'll link it in the description below so you guys can go and watch the hand gestures and stuff. It seems like a pretty cool thing, but again, it seems to be more of a gimmick right now, but it is what it is. Now looking at the back, we do have a dual camera sensor on the LG G8 where we only have a single camera sensor on the LG G6, but I will say the G6's camera is still very good in my opinion, especially for a couple-year-old phone. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's horrible. I definitely do think it's definitely on the better side of things. It's a 13 megapixel sensor on the back and it'll definitely get the job done. Funny enough though, the LG G8 has a dual camera sensor, but the main camera on it is only 12 megapixels, so it's a little bit of a downgrade from the G6 in terms of megapixel count, but the G8 does have a better camera sensor overall. The second camera on the LG G8 is actually 16 megapixels, so it's definitely better on that phone. And because it is a dual camera sensor, you can do a lot more. You have ultra wide on the G8, where you also had ultra wide on the G6. I'll definitely say that the G8 is a much better camera overall, but there's a lot of similarities between these two. You can shoot 4K videos on both of them and a lot of different things like that. And again, I will have to have the phone in order to do an in-depth comparison, but I'll definitely say that the G6 is not a bad camera, but the G8 just takes it to another notch. No pun intended. The front camera on the LG G6 is 5 megapixels. The front camera on the G8 is 8 megapixels. There's a dual camera sensor on the G8, so really cool things for the G8. I will have to test it out to see how much better it is, but definitely speaking right now, the G6 isn't bad at all. Now I'll tell you the specs within both of these phones, and again, the G8 is going to be faster, but let me just go and explain. The G6 has a Qualcomm Snapdragon 435 processor, an octa-core CPU, an Adreno 505 GPU, and 3 gigs of RAM, but the LG G8 has a Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 chipset, an octa-core CPU, an Adreno 640 GPU, and 6 gigs of RAM. So that in and of itself, man, the G8 is going to be a much faster device and be able to hold more apps in the background than the G6. I mean, it has twice the amount of RAM, has a faster GPU, has a better chipset inside of it, and it's just a much better device. Of course, the G6 isn't that slow, but you can definitely see it starting to show its age a little bit. You are able to upgrade to Android Oreo right now, 8.1. I'm unsure when Android Pie is coming out for it. There's custom ROMs and stuff out for the G6 if you're interested in that, but this isn't a full review. I'll definitely say that in terms of the specs and everything, on paper, the G8 is going to be faster, and even in real usage, the LG G8 is going to be a faster device. Interesting enough, the base storage for both of these devices are different too. The LG G6 had 32 gigs for the base model. The LG G8 has 128 gigs. They both support microSD card slots, that, but I will say that they both can support storage expansion up to 2000 gigs. So you can put an extra 2000 gigabytes in it if you want to, which is pretty insane. So you can just put all those pictures of me and all those pictures of whatever on your phone, and you can just hold them on there, man. That's crazy. That's more memory than I have on my computer. So I don't know why you want to do that, but you have that capability. Now, this last thing I want to hit on is probably the most important. The G6 had a 3000 milliamp hour battery, where the G8 actually upgraded to a 3500 milliamp hour battery, and I'm so unbelievably happy that they did that. That is probably the most important thing I've seen all day. Even though it's kind of a slight increase, it's not crazily more. I will say any increase we can get with the battery size is one thing I always try to push for any phone manufacturer. Before I was like whatever, but now I'm like, that's the only thing I want. I want a bigger battery. I don't want to have to charge my phone in the middle of the day. And LG increased the battery size. They did this weird thing where they sometimes increased it, decreased it. The G6 and the G7 had the same battery size as the G2 from like many years ago, and now they finally increased it even more, and I'm so happy they did that. I will have to test the G8's battery a little bit more to kind of see what's going on with it, but I will say the G8 will probably have better battery life than the G6, and in my opinion, I think the G8 will probably have the best battery life out of all the G series phones, because I've owned all the G series phones, and I do personally think that before even testing it, the G8 might have the best because of the battery size. So that's pretty much the end of this comparison. Again, I will have to test out the phone thoroughly to kind of get a better opinion on it, but this is what I will say. The G6 right now is much cheaper than the G8, and if I were to give rankings for both, if the G8 was like a 10 out of 10, a perfect phone, the G6 is probably like a 7.5 or like a 7.75, and obviously if you have all the money to spend, go for the G8. It's a much better phone. But if you have a really old phone, if you have a phone that's like before like 2016, I would tell you, man, the G6 is a pretty decent upgrade from a phone prior to 2014 or 2015, whatever. I have done a double eye swipe for the G6 if you want to watch that, and if you want to get a little bit more in depth about the details of it, you can go watch that video. I'll try to link it in the description. If I don't remember, just search up my name and LG G6 in 2019, you'll find it, or just search up LG G6 in 2019, you'll find my video. The G6 right now on Amazon is selling for around $180, and that's like all shipped through Amazon, where the G8 was just released. It's way more expensive. So I will leave a link to the G6 in the description below if you want to pick it up. Again, it's like $180, which is extremely cheap. I would really recommend you, if you're interested in it, buy it through that link, because it does help support the channel. At the same time, we can do more reviews and comparisons and do more giveaways and things like that. So it means so much if you guys could do that. But that is pretty much it. If you guys have any questions or anything, leave it down in the comment section below. Hit that like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it'll mean so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel, all those links are linked down below. I would really appreciate if you guys could check it out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys, and hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.